All right, so you guys can read. All right, by show of hands, who here has bought an efficient light bulb, say a CFL, that you absolutely despised how it looked? Yeah, actually, I'm surprised the number isn't higher, but I certainly have. I'm married to a graphic designer, so if color is off, I hear about it. So for years, I was buying bulbs and putting them in two identical lamps and saying, which one's the efficient one? And finally, about 2 years ago, with an LED, she guessed wrong. Finally. I've changed the bulbs in my kitchen 6 times because of her. So that's pretty typical. Who enjoys going to the store and trying to figure out which stupid light bulb you buy? You can't just buy 40 watt. Do you want soft white or do you want cool white? I mean, that used to be what it is, 40, 75, whatever you want. They're kind of confusing. Who enjoys changing light bulbs? Hey, we have one. All right. Okay, good. So who thinks they burn out at super convenient times? And does anybody have glutton for punishment.
Ladders, they're fun.
You enjoy ladders, okay. So who here has a recessed light at the top of the stairs that you can barely get to? You're kind of terrified. Would it be nice if you didn't have to change that, maybe till you die? Seriously? Like some of the lifespans on these things might get that far. Probably for 10 or 20 years anyway, at a minimum. So you heard me say earlier, efficiency last. This is very much how I view a lot. I like to, I don't think normally. I just don't, if you guys haven't figured that out by now. I like to turn things upside down. So all those reasons that I was just talking about there, efficient light bulbs are nice and all, but the efficiency, it just happens. It comes with it. I don't want to think first about efficiency. I want to think first about convenience and getting a light bulb that I enjoy and that I don't have to change very often. So let's see, does this thing have a laser? Yes. Wow, this is really cool. All right, so I should run through. These are your standard light bulb types. So there's old school, been around since 1889 or thereabouts. Thank you, Thomas Edison. You had a great run. There's the halogen. These are kind of sort of better, so I don't know if you know how these go. You can't buy anything above a 40 watt incandescent anymore. They're illegal. But the rule only states that it has to be 15% more efficient, and the halogen is 15% more efficient, but it's not that great. CFL's compact fluorescent lamp, those are about 75% more efficient, 75 to 85 depending. The LEDs are 85 to 90% more efficient than an incandescent. And then the fluorescent lamps actually oftentimes aren't that great, but I assume everybody here probably has one in their kitchen or their laundry room or the garage or whatever. These are still kicking around. All right, so I'm actually going to start with the conclusion. Let's talk money about these things. So I did some math and figured out what the different types of bulbs cost. So one of the chapters of my book is on lighting. I'm just stealing all my content here. So look, you've got the CFL and LEDs over here. So if you look at what it costs to burn a light bulb and buy light bulbs to run it for 25,000 hours, these are your ranges. So like down here, the LED is the lowest, and this is a $3 bulb with cheap electricity. On the other side is a $20 bulb with expensive electricity. So this is basically what you can expect. That's a pretty fair range. And the thing that you notice, LEDs win here. So LED, by the way, is a light emitting diode. So the little flashing light on your hard drive, for your hard drive on your computer, it's just a bigger version of that. It's the same technology. But the really crazy thing about this, the cost spectrums don't even intersect. So if you have the cheapest electricity and you buy $1 or even 50 cents incandescent bulbs, you're still going to spend 2 to 3 times as much as you do with an LED. So the math is in. I talked earlier, there's 3 things that pay for themselves quickly in your house. There's changing light bulbs, there's going to a low flow shower head, and then kind of sort of insulating your hot water lines. But that's it. That's the list. If you want something less than a 5-year payback or 20% return on investment. So my conclusion from this is it's actually kind of dumb to keep using incandescents. So if you have some still in your house and you use them with any kind of frequency, throw them out. It's actually far cheaper to put them in the garbage. I know that's abhorrent. I can't hardly do it either. Full disclosure, I bought 3 packs of 100-watt light bulbs before they were gone because I just didn't know. I wanted to have the ability if I wanted to. So I still have a handful of them at home. But if you have any incandescents left that you use more than, say, an hour a week or an hour a day, change them. The other cool thing is the math that I ran here is now old. This is last week at Home Depot, $2 for a 3-pack. These are not amazing bulbs, but they're great for putting in closets, in the garage, things like that. 66 cents a piece for an LED bulb. I can't believe they've come down that much. It wasn't that long ago. You were lucky to find one for under $10. So one of the common objections that I hear is you can't get LEDs for unusual light fixtures. And I have to say this is untrue now. So this is in the finished area of my basement, and it was pretty dim. And just a couple months ago, I replaced it with those bulbs right there. What made me super excited was I got basically a 40-watt output up from 20 watts. But it worked out to where I get double the light, but I'm using 60% less energy. And that made me really happy because this was a very dark part of my house and there wasn't a great way to add light to it. So this totally solved 2 problems for me. And then this is an IKEA fixture with halogen bulbs. So you can see what they look like. They're these little 2-prong kind of funky things. I do have to say these are not amazing yet. Their color temperature is not quite there. And I'll talk more about that shortly. But what is really cool, because this fixture and the other fixture I just showed you, I use a lot. I recently changed back in February to a heat pump water heater, which uses heat from the basements or whatever air is around it to heat the water in your house. And just by changing these light bulbs, and even though I switched from gas to electric, I can't see the difference in my bills. So by changing these light bulbs out, I basically got free hot water. So pretty cool thing. All right, so we already did the conclusion, so let's go into some of the body of this. This is the tricky thing. You can't buy a 60-watt light bulb. It doesn't exist. The equivalent of a 60-watt light bulb in an LED burns 7 watts. It's not that easy to go look for a 7-watt light bulb. But the beautiful thing is, while this is the spectrum for lumens, you don't need to know it because everything is marked 60-watt equivalent, 75-watt equivalent, whatever it is. So that's a throwaway slide, actually. Another technical thing to be aware of, lumens per watt. So this is how much light you get per watt of energy burned. And you can see down here, incandescent and halogens are just stinking up the joint. They really don't give you much light considering how much power they burn. Then you've got fluorescents have the big fluorescent bulbs like in a garage have a really wide range, and they get pretty bad actually. The CFLs have a much smaller range, but then the LEDs, look at this crazy stuff. So most are more in this range. They're like the 60 to 100 range, but the technology keeps getting better, and they're getting to where you can get the equivalent of a 75-watt light bulb for something like 4 or 5 watts. So pretty remarkable what they're managing to pull off. How long do they last? Of course, there's caveats on this. The biggest caveat is if you have an enclosed light fixture, so it's a glass bulb all the way around it, the CFLs are going to die very quickly and the LEDs might. So it's a good idea to change those to where the bottom of the fixture is open so it can get air and it doesn't overheat itself. So that's one of the big caveats. CFLs don't like being flipped on and off. CFLs are kind of dumb. I view them as the cassette tape of light bulbs. They're gone. They were nice while we had them, but we've moved on technology-wise. So incandescent bulbs, halogens both last about 1,000 to 2,000 hours. CFLs are in the 3,000 to 10,000 range, and then LEDs can have these insane lives. So 50,000 hours, for reference, if you work a man year, so 50 weeks with 2 weeks vacation, 40 hours a week, that's 2,000 hours that you're working. This is 25 years of work that it potentially can last. And Consumer Reports still has old LED bulbs burning way past 25,000 hours. A key thing to note, yes, LEDs win, but they consider failure to be 70% of original brightness. So it doesn't mean it burned out, it's just not as bright. So pretty crazy tech. All right, this is the real meat. So if you take nothing from this presentation but this will help you avoid buying a bulb that you can't stand, which is no good because it will last 20 years. So you are stuck in a long-term relationship with something that you hate. Or you have to throw it out, which always feels bad. My in-laws have these horribly blue CFLs that they put in their garage, and you go out there and I don't know, it just feels terrible. Everybody's skin colored, we just look sick. But the two numbers you want to remember are 2700 and 90 plus. If you can remember those two numbers, you have about a 90% chance of loving whatever light bulb you buy. So the 2700 is a color temperature. So this is a spectrum. On the low side, it's reddish. So Kelvin or K, it's just a rating of what the different colors are within the visible spectrum. So 2200 is a candle, and you can buy some bulbs that are like this. They look very old-timey. They're pretty lovely. There's some Edison look-alike bulbs. They're in the 2200 range, and they look really good. I was shocked because I tend to buy stuff and see if I like it or not. 2700 is basically like a soft white. So if you get a light bulb that's 2700 Kelvin, that's basically going to replace what you're used to having, so it'll look normal to you. Some people like a little bit bluer light or greener light for work lights, and then outside on an overcast day is about 6500, where right now it's probably more like 5000 because it's sunny out. But to give you an idea of what this looks like, this is a little mock-up we did, so you can get an idea of what things look like across the spectrum. And this is pretty much the happy place. So just repeating that, 2700. The other thing to keep in mind is CRI. It's known as Color Rendering Index. And what it's based on, it's actually a percentage scale, although they dropped the percentage, so it's 0 to 100. 100 means that it renders colors as well as an ideal light source. And an ideal light source is usually either an incandescent bulb or the sun. When you get to anything over 80, you're doing okay. If you get over 90, you're probably not going to be able to tell the difference between an incandescent bulb and that LED. If you notice bad skin tones, like who here likes going to hospitals? Isn't the lighting there just lovely? Awesome. Poor CRI is one of the biggest factors going on there. If there's no color rendering index on the package, it probably stinks. Don't buy it. That one bulb that I showed you earlier that I ended up not liking, the little two-prong guy, it didn't have CRI on the package, but I couldn't find a bulb that had CRI yet. So I just had to try something. This gives you an example. This is the bulbs that I really liked in my basement. This is an awesome label. So it has brightness. It tells you it's dimmable. You get to see how wide it throws. This is the base, so you know if you buy the right one. Look, lifespan 25,000 or more. This color spectrum is super nice, so it shows you the 2700. And then the other important one is up here, the 90 plus CRI. And then efficacy, we were talking about that earlier with how many lumens you get per watt. 64 is not bad. Pretty good. So this is a nice label box. All the labels look a little bit different when you go to the big box stores to buy them, but you're always going to find this, and this is not always on the box. If it's not, don't buy that bulb. So those are the two numbers. That's efficient lighting. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, sorry, yes.
We're going to have an IKEA store in Columbus in about a month, and
Lucky dog.
they promote lighting. Do you recommend IKEA?
Yeah, I like their
Lights?
bulbs consistently, yeah. So can I say it 100%? No, but consistently.
Other lighting questions?
Throw out your incandescents, folks. I know it hurts. Do it. What's that? The CFLs have mercury, but incandescents don't. It's just a glass bulb with a little tungsten.
Where can you recycle the CFL?
Big boxes take them. So you can take them back to Home Depot or Lowe's, and they'll take them off your hands for free. So pack a shoe box or whatever and bring them over there. But the CFLs you don't necessarily have to get rid of, not until they burn out. Because they're efficient enough. Keep them. Because it's a small jump. It's only your incandescent to LED or CFL. That's the big jump. That's the only one worth taking. Thank you all.
Thanks.